Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back with our NFL Divisional Round preview. We're down to 7 games. That's all that's left of the NFL season, which is crazy. And we've got 4 great matchups in the Divisional Round this week. We're going to kickstart our episode with our guest segment, so guest picker, guest segment. And look, there's some great stories in the Divisional Round so far, but we've got a UK-based Texans fan to have a chat around the Houston Texans' fantastic win against Cleveland, the upcoming game against the Baltimore Ravens, which is a great one on Saturday night, and we'll talk all about the Texans season as well. Helping me out with that, we've got Byron. Byron, welcome to the Divisional Round. How are you feeling about there only being 7 games left to go?
A little sad, but this is the best weekend of the season coming up, and obviously every game matters so much right now. Cannot wait. Yeah, my favorite weekend of the NFL year coming up.
Yeah, I think we got kind of 5 of the 6 games weren't close last week, so I'm hoping we kind of get 4 drama-filled, right to the wire games to make it kind of make it real exciting. And we are going to get into the Houston Texans Baltimore Ravens game first. Before we do that, this segment of the show is presented by Fantasy Gameday. So Fantasy Gameday is the hottest NFL daily fantasy game around in the UK. It's been going since the start of the season. Gamit and Co have been doing a great job of getting it rolling. You set your lineup using the budget of £40,000. Watch the points roll in, and you can win cash prizes. The top 20% of entrants each week, each game week, win themselves a cash prize. We had the wildcard stars last week. We've got the divisional stars this week. The game will shut 15 minutes before the first kickoff, which is 9:30, so 9:15 this week UK time. It'll shut off. If you've not played yet, you are missing out. And if you've not played yet, go use our promo code COVER, Charlie Oscar Victor Echo Romeo, all in capital letters, and you'll get yourself a free game, a free entry after your first play. So you can put 2 lineups in for the price of 1. It's only £7.50. And like I say, regularly, the winners have been walking away with over £100. We've won a few times as well. Not won. We've won prizes, not won the whole thing, a few times as well. And it's been a lot of fun to play. Not yet. Maybe this week.
I think this weekend's our week. Yeah.
This weekend our week. Well, let's get into this weekend. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest for this week. We've got a UK-based Houston Texans fan. What a season the Texans have had, and we'll get into all that. We've got Graham Henderson joining us, a.k.a. the Kilted Texan. Love the name. Graham, welcome to the show. First of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate you asking.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Such a great story, the Houston Texans this year. And as I mentioned, I got to see you with Gary and Alec and Matty last week on the Let's Talk Sports Network. So shout out NFL around the UK. And thought it'd be great, like I say, with the Texans getting through to the divisional round, if we could get you on. Yeah, I mean, you must be on such a high right now. Like the Texans can kind of, from where they've been the last 3 years, the optimism and how the season's gone, they're now in the divisional round of the playoffs, heading to Baltimore to play the number 1 seed Ravens. I mean, first of all, great. What were your expectations coming into this year for the Houston Texans, given kind of how rough a ride it's been the last few years?
Yeah, I think the expectations for me certainly were just like, let's try and right the ship a little bit, get D'Amico in, get like when we drafted the 2 high picks in CJ and Anderson. It was one of those seasons where you're like, right, okay, let's just try and make a little bit of a step from last year. It surely can't be worse than last year. Let's try and wipe away some of the anguish that the fans have had with the organization over the last couple of years. And I think they've done they had done a lot on that PR side of things on the off season. I know we all kind of concentrate on each other's teams. We focus in on whoever we support, and we don't really know much about what's been going on. But I think, personally, I think Carl, McNair, and Hannah certainly has helped really re-energize the fan base. Greg Grissom, president of the team, another guy who's really involved in engaging back with the fans. So it all started with let's get the fans back on board. Let's just put a good product out on the pitch. And let's see where we can go from that. And my personal expectations was I thought we'd get like 8 to 9 wins this year. Just looking at our schedule as well, there was wins to pick up there, but to be told, well, to find out you're going to be division champs, that, as some of the commentators have been saying in this playoff games, the Texans are playing with house money just now. They've got nothing to fear going into any of these games because nobody thought they'd be here. I think we were probably projected to have 4 wins this year from the pundits. So to do what we're doing, and that's all on the back of that young Bucks, CJ and Will Anderson. They haven't dragged us through. I shouldn't say that. They've energized the locker room, and it's a locker room of some people would call misfits. It's just been a piece from here and a piece from there. There's, those 1-year contracts and stuff, and they've kind of put it all together, and we're rumbling now. So yeah, it's honestly, it's pinch me now, I would say, the way it should go. Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible, and even from towards kind of the back end of the season, where the back end of the regular season, where it's kind of like the Texans had been fun. They definitely made some forward progress, and then I think kind of maybe even after that first, maybe a little bit before, maybe after the Jets game in Week 14, where kind of that was not the signs that CJ Stroud might be having some rookie problems, just the Jets defense just stepped up, didn't they, and made it real difficult, and that was the moment I thought kind of it might be over, that the run to the play, run to be able to get to the playoffs or things like that. Bit help from Jacksonville, imploded, and all of a sudden here we are.
Yeah. And after that Jets game as well, obviously Stroud missed 2 weeks, and it was like, you missed that second week of the concussion. It's like, oh, is he going to come back at all? Especially if he's not going to make the playoffs. And yeah, he came back and they haven't lost again since, right?
Well, yeah, at that point you wondered, would they just like shut him down?
Yeah.
That was like probably the discussions that were being had, is like Case Keenum went out, managed to get the win over the Oilers. Managed to get the win over them in their house, wearing all those colours with all that names, and
well, everyone had wrote the Texans off coming into the game as well.
Yeah. Everyone, Vrabel's paying for wearing the Bum Phillips hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Case managed to get us through that game, and then we went into the Browns game, and I tell you, I was at that Browns game when we got beat, and people have heard me say it before, but Joe Flacco looked very comfortable in that game, and that's how he could tear us apart. He looked very comfortable in that game. He did not look pressured at all, and when it come to this last week's game, I knew it would be a different game because of what we could put up front on the pressure side. They hadn't seen that from the last game. So, yeah, you wondered if CJ would keep going. They wondered if it was bubble wrap time. But they must have thought, some of the guys, there's still a chance. The Jags are imploding. The Colts, everything that we did, they did. Just let's roll the dice and keep CJ firing, and it's paid off.
Yeah. You mentioned there, Graham, just before we came on, so that you were out in the US for the last three weeks of the regular season, so week 16 to 18. Tell us about that trip, and what a way to end it with the victory over the Colts in week 18.
Oh, it was fantastic. So yeah, Christmas Eve game against the Browns, we got beat, obviously, a bit sad, but. So I was lucky enough, I was actually out at 5 games this season. So the only game I didn't see us win was the one game that CJ didn't play. So that tells you a lot about when he's on the field, how much of an impact he makes. So I seen us beat the Steelers when we had JJ Watt's Ring of Honor ceremony.
Nice.
Then we beat the Saints. And I think people were surprised at the Saints win at the time. But when you look at it now, I don't think there's much of a surprise. But this last couple of weeks, seeing them beat the Titans on Hogmanay, the Titans just didn't look at the races in that game. They looked like a team with that record. But to go up to Indy, my first trip up to Indy, I've not been to that stadium before. Fantastic stadium, great facilities, very friendly tailgaters. You do get the occasional one that's maybe a bit you know, they just they're every team's got them. You know, we've got them as well. They're a bit hard on the away fans, and it's like, but it's fine. It's nothing serious. But brilliant stadium, brilliant facilities. What the things they do during the game, just no wonder that home team is. They call it the Loud House or the Lad House, as they like to call it. But they get that crowd whipped up, and for us to go in there and get a win, it was pretty special. It was moments where you stay behind after the game and you kind of take over. You know, it's only you and you're getting chased out by security because it's only Texans fans left. But we were all on the high. We couldn't believe it. And the next day I flew back down to Houston. And by the time I landed in Houston, we were division champs. So, like, the plane was rocking for a wee bit because everyone was keeping up to date on the scores. So, yeah, it was what a way to end the trip. I didn't actually want to come home before the last round. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to come back to reality.
Sadly so, but yeah, what a great season then. To have been out for five of the games in the regular season. Yeah, what a great year to have. And you mentioned, I think earlier before you said it's nearly 40 games you've been out to. So I suppose in that span, so there's been a lot of lows with the Texans, and yeah, you know what? Great for you to get those highs on this trip for sure. If you're watching on our YouTube as opposed to listening on our Spotify, you will see Graham's setup in the background. He was talking to us just before we came on the air that he's got 60 odd. Was it 63?
Yeah, like 60.
63 player jerseys there, and he's
signed items by players anyway.
Well, yeah, signed by the players, and it is floor to ceiling and the ceiling covered with all Texans merch and memorabilia. It's a great setup you've got there. It's been a great, I suppose, an unbelievable year, and this game is a very, very tough one on the road, and the Texans are really big underdogs. I was very surprised at seeing the number being this big, but I think that's more just a testament to how dominant the Ravens have been for a lot of this year. Tell us, how do the Texans go about winning this game on Saturday against Baltimore?
I think the Texans just have to play to how they've been playing the last couple of games. You know, like, be fearless. I probably said to you it's house money that the Texans are playing with. That's been a saying that I've heard going about. I think it was mentioned in the Green Bay game again, with how Green Bay are. They were playing with house money. You know, they're a youngish team. Don't be afraid. It's, you know, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Just go out, have fun, play the way you can play, and just don't let the moment get too big, which is obviously easier said than done. But when you've seen the poise that CJ had in the last round of the playoffs, that like, I think Pat McAfee said that guy's 45 years old. You know, he just seems to have this calming element to him, and he can make the big plays, and he's got a big arm as well. He can use his legs if he has to, but it's going to be a really tough game. Like, the Ravens are as good as suggested, you know, so I'm not taking anything away from that. This is going to be a tough one.
And they did play week one as well. And I was listening to our recap show of week one to see if there's anything to kind of take away from it. And my biggest takeaway was, like, the O-line has improved so much for the Texans since, because that was kind of the big issue in week one, I felt, listening back and trying to remember the game then. But, you know, Baltimore didn't blow, I mean, it was a 16-point win, so it doesn't sound like it was nothing, but they didn't blow the Texans out the water then. You know, the Texans defense done well to contain them then. And I think they can do the same again. Derek Stingley had a great game last week. I imagine he's probably going to line up a lot on Zay Flowers because he's not really covered a man much all season, but he did last week with Amari Cooper. It'll be interesting to see what the defense looks like this week, because having the ability to mix it up, and if you put Stingley in man or if you keep him on one side, he's one of the best young corners regardless, really. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach that. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised, like Paul said, about it being nearly 10 points again, 9.5 points. So we're 10 points in week one. And they were my underdog pick then. And obviously got that a little wrong because the O-line, you know, was kind of porous, and CJ struggled in his first week. But yeah, he's 100% on Saturdays in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, that's maybe the jitters. That's maybe the jitters, you know, first week jitters, you know. The 10-point spread, did you say?
Yeah, it's 9.5 this week. Yeah.
Is it the last time that kind of spread? Was that not when they gave that spread to the Ravens over the Titans a couple of years ago when they went up there and beat up the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good point. Yeah,
same number. So
scarily similar. Yeah,
and to me, like if you're kind of rested your starters for 2 weeks. You know, you took them out in your last game, and then you had the bye. You know, some teams play better playing every week. Some people don't. So, yeah, and I totally agree with you, Byron. I think Stingley should be put on Zay. He did an amazing job against Amari Cooper. I think he covered Amari 80% of the snap, the time, and he got -6 yards in that time. So
you take that this week.
It's a ridiculous number like that. I'm probably making it better than it sounds, but that's where I think it was anyway. So that just shows you put your best guy on their best guy, and just let the dominoes fall at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and anything you want, I suppose, heading into the game that gives you a little bit of an edge or a little bit of hope that you might pull it off. The Ravens have lost the last 2 home games in the playoffs. I think they got beat by they got beat by the Chargers in the playoffs. I completely forgot about that back in 2019, and then 2018 season, and then in 2019 as a number 1 seed, coming off 2 weeks rest, they just turned up and
didn't turn up.
Yeah, didn't turn up against the Tennessee Titans. And I think we talked. We talked last week. Oh, I want to say we talked last week. It was last night when we recorded the episode. So we talked last night around how kind of this Texans team, I don't know if you see any similarities, Graham, but really reminds me of the 2021 Bengals team that got to the Super Bowl. So it was Burrow's second year as opposed to being a rookie. But again, just that elite level quarterback play, these young pieces on offense, just making big play after big play after big play, a defense that's progressed and improved, and he's coming up with big turnovers at key times, and it's just reminding me so much of that team. And I absolutely think the Texans are alive here heading to Baltimore, and have got a great chance. I think the 9.5 points is ridiculous. If I'm honest, I mean, although I get a lot of these takes wrong, Graham, but I think the 9.5 points is ridiculous at this point, and I think the Texans are going to push the Ravens all the way in this one. I really, really do.
I think 10 of our games, excuse me, I think 10 of our games ended within like 1 score.
Yeah.
So we were progressively getting better at keeping teams tight. There was a couple of games that it got away from us, but really on the whole, we kept it close. And then last week was like the explosion. That was like probably what people have been waiting for. And you're right, there probably is a couple of similarities with the Bengals team, because Burrow has his Jamar Chase. He's got his deep threat. We found Nico's had like a breakout year this year. He's gone over 1,200 yards. It's by far the most. That's more than he's had combined in his last 2 seasons. We have Dalton Schultz, great tight end. That seems to be a great security blanket for when he has to check down. It's getting all these parts. And then Singletary's come into the game a bit more. He's pushed his way to RB1. We call him Motor, because he just keeps going. I think there is elements there that can probably push the Ravens and really get them on edge. And like you said, if they've been beaten the last 2 times in this round at home, is that a boogeyman? Nobody's talking about him, but he's there for this team. I've seen it happen in sports. I'm not gonna get too hard on your team, your guys' team, but that's been the same issue for you guys.
Yeah.
How's it feel being the best team in Texas?
Hey, I seen a quote saying that the Dallas Cowboys aren't even Texas's team now.
Never mind. I mean, it's true, to be fair. America just loves to troll the Cowboys. So, yeah, I think it's been a long time since they were really America's team.
But you guys have got the same issue there,
Yeah.
There's a boogeyman about AT&T, and that hopefully is at M&T this weekend.
Yeah.
So
I saw another thing, and there's been loads of these in the last 48 hours. If you've been, if you're a follower of the Dallas Cowboys, you've seen them. But obviously the Texans started in 2002, right? And since the Texans expansion went, if they've tied or they've one more playoff win than the Dallas Cowboys have had,
one more
in that period of time. With them winning, with the Texans winning on Saturday and the Cowboys losing on Sunday, which is insane. And counting, because this could be more. It could be 6, 7, 8.
There's more chances of winning more this year than the Cowboys have, for sure.
Graham, just wanted to ask you, because we know about, obviously, we've talked at length, and he's so impressive, CJ Stroud. He's coming in, you look at kind of the struggles that Bryce Young's had over at Carolina, but the combination kind of CJ Stroud, I think, with D'Amico Ryans have worked so well. I think, we've given praise to Bobby Slowick, and hopefully they keep it, hopefully for the Texans' sake, they keep him and he doesn't take a head coaching job. But, who are kind of some of the unsung heroes that maybe haven't had as much shine or haven't had as much attention on them in this run for the Texans?
I think Juice Scruggs. I think he's playing at right guard just now, or I think it's right guard he's been playing at. Juice Scruggs has been playing sneaky good offensive line for being a rookie. He wasn't even the first pick on our starting lineup, I don't think. And he's come in and he's worked really hard and he keeps going. Obviously Laramie Tunsil has been getting better and better, and he's a Pro Bowl tackle. But he I think last week his numbers were incredible, for pressures, and sacks allowed has been 0. That's the key, isn't it? It's keeping your weapon upright. So some of the guys on the offensive line they were getting kicked about at the start of the season. You mentioned it. It was injured. There's so many injuries, and their name was mud. And it's like, next year we're drafting offensive linemen. But those guys have come together as a unit. Obviously doing a great job now. Ka'imi Fairbairn, the kicker, we were down without him for 5 weeks, and some of those games he would have won us.
Yeah,
definitely. There was the one off the crossbar against the Jags. There was missed kicks. I don't blame Amendola. It's very hard to come in as a guy off the couch as a kicker in these because it's high pressure situations.
Yeah.
Ka'imi Fairbairn. And our special teams, I think, has been ranked number 1 again in the NFL. I might be lying about that as well, but it's just the things I hear. So maybe it's just like an echo chamber of Texans fans saying that they're number 1 in the league. But yeah, I've got a lot of love for John Weeks, the long snapper. He's my favorite player on the team. So guys like that, when I'm at a game, you don't like that 3 special team guys: Cam Johnson, the punter, John Weeks, and Ka'imi Fairbairn. They never stop working, like the whole game. And I'm not just saying that; they do not stop, and they come out at halftime and they work. So like the proof's in the pudding. Like when it comes down to like game winners, like against Tennessee, Ka'imi's first game back and he booms up. I don't know, it was like 51-yarder outside in Tennessee, wind whipping. Like those guys keep your momentum alive, and everyone's important. This is the thing. Every phase of this game's important. You can't have anyone let you down. So yeah, there's been a few unsung heroes.
Yeah, I always I don't think he'll make, because we always put a fantasy game day lineup together, and I don't think he'll make our lineup, but he's so efficient on what he gets the ball. Brevin Jordan, who I read this week is actually younger than Dalton Kincaid, the Buffalo rookie tight end. It feels like Brevin Jordan's been in the league 3 or 4 years, but every time he seems to get a catch, it seems to matter. Obviously, he had the huge one against the Browns on Saturday, but
he's really athletic.
Yeah.
He's a slightly smaller tight end, I think, but I think he started out as a running back and then he got moved out to tight end before he come up to the league.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or his last years in college. But he's faster than people think. And that showed when he got into open space at the weekend. So, I totally agree. But Brevin Jordan, they've all played their part this year.
Yeah.
It's a pity Noah Brown got put on IR.
Yeah.
He got put on IR. And Tank Dell, come on. Everyone's buying a Tank Dell shirt, even if you don't support the team.
Well, that's what I was going to ask as well, Graham. How many new jerseys are going up at the end of this season? This is a miracle. I'm not going to say a miracle. It's a bit of a fairy tale season so far. See how far it goes, but you're going to have to make some room in there.
Yeah, I don't have all my jerseys up yet. I've got 5 sitting here ready to go up.
Nice.
They haven't got that from my last trip, but they've not gone up. But I've got 3 John Weeks ones. I've got the red, white, and the blue. So because he's a dude, he come over and signed them for me. Nice. It's not like bought ones. It's like obviously had the jerseys bought and then he signed them. But yeah, all these guys make you just want to display their merch and if you're a fan, you just want to buy anything that you buy a Wheaties box if it was on.
Yeah.
But Tank Dell, he'll be so exciting next season. But it's just such a shame we don't have him for this run because him and Nico, the way they're playing, they would have had deep threat fits for those cornerbacks and safeties and everything.
Yeah, still doing it, still making the big plays. Even without, even with Tank Dell going down, they're still, it's having the complementary pieces and more than one obviously helps, but they're still doing it and still making the big plays, which I think they're going to need in this one because the Ravens have the threat of just scoring quickly, don't they? A couple of bits that might kind of again, feel that again the Texans have got more of a chance than the 9.5 point spread suggests. Last 8 home Baltimore playoff games in a row have all hit the under, which suggests it could be quite a close game. I think it's, again, relatively low, 43.5. I've not checked the weather because particularly that Steelers-Ravens game the other week was miserable in terms of how bad that weather was. So if it's something similar, that could lean towards it being quite low scoring as well. And the Ravens have only won 1 of the last 5 as a home favourite in the postseason.
Wow, that's interesting stats, isn't it? That gives you a lot of hope. You've got to try and keep all the excitement, kind of keep the lid on it and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be cold in Baltimore. But believe it or not, it's been freezing in Houston this last couple of days.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? It's been
I mentioned it to my wife recently because she was like, well, how cold can it be? I'm like, well, I can't remember what the number was, but I'm up in Chicago and it's colder here, but it was below freezing.
Yeah.
And she was like, in Texas? I'm like, yeah, it happens.
They've been training outside. They've kept away from the dome and they've been outside. So it's like prepping yourself for cold weather play.
Yeah.
And it's like it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah. And it's scheduled to be -8 degrees Celsius, so whatever that is in Fahrenheit, Byron, I don't know. But yeah, in Baltimore at kickoff.
10-ish, 12-ish, Fahrenheit, I think.
Yeah, so it's kind of factoring in as well that it's not going to be a shock to the system. It's not going to be like the Dolphins rocking up the Arrowhead and turning into statues because it's so cold.
Graham, give us a score prediction then before you go, before we leave you for the evening. Give us a score prediction for the game on Saturday.
I think it's going to be a lot close. I had the Browns game being close, and that went totally wrong. So, but I do genuinely think this one's going to be close. This one's going to be 24-21 to the Texans.
Nice, 24-21, close game.
We'll say before we finish here, I was just having a little creep on Graham's Twitter. If you haven't seen enough of his shared incredible Texans fan base here, you won tickets to the Super Bowl because of how great this is, right? I mean, I'm just looking at your Twitter since we started talking. Well, since I came on the call here, you get a proper look at it. I know it's been upgraded in the last few years since, but yeah, Graham won tickets to the Super Bowl because of how badass this fan zone shed, whatever, I don't know what you call it.
I call it a fan cave because it's for everyone.
Fan cave, perfect.
Not just for the blokes. It's
perfect
for everyone.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, it's your pinned tweet. You just need to go to Graham's Twitter feed and see it, and my goodness, it is incredible. We got a little preview before we started recording here, but yeah, I would highly recommend going and checking it out, whoever you support, because it is badass.
It is really cool. Graham, just give us a shout out. Where can our listeners and viewers follow you if they want to follow along and see all everything going on in the Texans world from your perspective?
They can follow me on Twitter. I think I see it running down the bottom of your bar just now at the _1_Hendo, or You can get me at Texans UK, also on there. And on Instagram, you can get me at the Kilted Texan. I think there might be an underscore in the middle there, but you'll see me. I'm a little cartoon.
We'll pop it. We'll make sure we pop it in the episode details as well. Graham, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Great to sit down and chat ball with you. Best of luck on Saturday. I'm pulling out. I'd love to see this story continue into the conference championship and beyond. It'd be great to see it. So best of luck on Saturday, and hopefully we'll have you back on in the future to come on and give us some more Texans perspectives in the future. It'd be great to have you back on.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Thanks again, guys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice. Appreciate you, Graham. We're going to continue our picks and preview episode for the divisional round of the playoffs. Me and Byron are going to quickly shift screens, and we're going to be joined by Joe. And we're going to talk through the rest of the games. We'll talk a little bit betting on Texans Ravens as well. Give you some tips for your fantasy game day lineup, and also share our best bets. Graham, thanks once again. Go give Graham a follow, the Kilted Texan. Thanks again to Graham, the Kilted Texan, for joining us there as our guest, and best of luck to his Houston Texans on Saturday. We move on with the rest of our divisional round picks and preview episode. Me and Byron are joined by Joe as per usual. The trio are back. Joe, how are you doing? Are you ready for divisional round weekend and your 49ers are joining the party?
Yeah, it's what many people say is the best weekend of football. So we've got 4, I think, really good ties, lots of narratives and interest. So yeah, can't wait. 2 days of hopefully excellent and exciting football, and hopefully a few more close games.
Yeah, excellent. And we're going to preview all 4 games. Well, we're going to talk a little bit less about Texas Ravens if you've just heard an expert's opinion from Graham there on his Texans. We're going to give you some tips for Fantasy Game Day. So Fantasy Game Day Divisional Stars is back for this week. So yeah, you've got the opportunity to pick your lineup from the 4 games. Go download the app now using from the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, wherever you get them from, and use promo code COVER. If you've not played yet, this is going to be one of your last chances, and you'll get two chances to play for the price of 1. So 2 games for £7.50. It's excellent value, and top 20% can win some fantastic prizes. Use promo code COVER to get that extra play once you've submitted your first lineup. Go do it. We're doing it. We've won 4 or 5 times some money, so we're definitely up. I don't think that's right, but we're close.
And we're winning this weekend, I think, right?
We're going to win the whole goddamn thing this weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll give you some fantasy game day tips, and also we'll give you kind of our best bets, what we're thinking of, and we'll go through our competitions as well. We've got our ATS picks competition and our draft competition as well, which is interesting that I have not prepared for this week, so that's going to be fun. Got carried away after my winning week last week. Before we get into all that, we're going to keep touching in as we go on kind of the coaching carousel or potential hires and moves. And there's a couple of key things for us to talk about. Can't believe we're talking about this after the episode where we were screaming for this man to be fired, or I certainly was. Mike McCarthy sticking around as the Dallas Cowboys head coach for 2024. I think this is a massive shock, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a massive disappointment. I understand, you see fans on Twitter like, it's been 12-5 3 years in a row. Cowboys fans are so entitled to complain. It's like, yeah, but the potential of the team is there to go further. I think on paper that roster is a really good one, and it's not like they haven't won a Super Bowl, so it's entitled to expect a Super Bowl every year. But kind of getting waxed that strongly in the playoffs, doing worse than the previous years. Like, things aren't getting better in the playoffs, and it does always feel a little harsh, I think, on the quarterback and coaching narrative sometimes to be like, you get judged on one game in the playoffs. But it's not like, we both picked the Cowboys. I'm not going to say nobody's, seen it coming, but as soon as Dallas kind of showed the same old stories on that first drive of Green Bay, giving soft penalties up, not defending the run, and I know he's not the defensive coordinator, but he's there to instill discipline. It's kind of what he does, as a head coach. And we kind of just felt like, oh man, this game's going already. There's no real leadership in terms of like turning a sinking ship. And I don't know why we would expect things to be different next year.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, why keep him?
Yeah. I would like to issue a little bit of an apology, not to Mike McCarthy, but to you two guys, and also anybody that heard my rant the other day. So when we talked about doing this show, and when we started this, one of the things I realised I sounded like the other day is Byron Joe. I'm sure you'll remember this. The guys over at Arsenal Fan TV hounding Arsene Wenger out.
Yeah.
Slightly different. Slightly different. But I was
there will not be a statue of Mike McCarthy outside the ground.
No, there won't. No. But I felt a little bit like that. And the whole point of this was to be like that, sort of like a antithesis to that sort of content and that sort of way of doing things. And we aren't a Dallas Cowboys podcast or a Dallas Cowboys show, for example. We just happen to support them. So yeah, I listened to it back and I quite frankly was a little bit embarrassed. So apologies. I still, my opinion hasn't changed. I don't think Mike McCarthy should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's had 4 years. He's had his opportunity, and this team isn't going anywhere. The Cowboys are in a real tough spot next year as well. The cap is a mess. You've got Dak's contract situation. You've got to pay CeeDee Lamb. You've got to pay Micah Parsons and make all that work. Also, the Cowboys' schedule is going to be brutal if the teams are as we're expecting them to be. Yeah. We talked about Mike McCarthy's record against teams that finished the year with a winning record. It's 12-20 for the Dallas Cowboys. So what's that? 37%. Dallas Cowboys are going to play 10 games against teams that finished this year with a winning record. It's a real tough schedule. So I missed the 37%. I just think it was the moment to clean it up and go, look, you give it a good go. Great, 3 12-5 seasons. There's teams over the league that scream, would love that. In fact, most would. But yeah, it was just time to move on. And also the fact you're going to leave him as a bit of a lame duck because I don't think there's a sign of an extension coming. I think that's kind of to leave a coach in.
One of the ultimate things here is like he's getting fired after next season because unless again it does really feel like it's Super Bowl or bust now because I can't think of many lamer ducks coming into a new season. Like there has been coaches in the past where you thought, well, this Ron Rivera this year was a classic example of like if things don't go well for Ron Rivera, he's out at the end of the year in Washington. Obviously, it feels exactly that for Mike McCarthy. Like if it's not Super Bowl appearance, he's surely got to be going. But kind of said the same this year, truthfully. So what do we know?
I was going to say that it was the same last year when we're going into this year. Like they had to get to a conference, a conference game in order to like keep his job. And I do get your point with the 12-5, but unfortunately, it is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
there's a lot of teams in other sports where it's similar, where you're expected to win.
Yeah,
you expect your level of expectation is higher than someone. If the Chargers went 12-5 3 years in a row, it would be a LA hero. So, and I think the expectation, and I think, like you said, I think it's just been the disappointment of 3 playoffs in a row where they've had this squad and it's not been great. But I think we touched on it a bit on Tuesday that this is the same ownership, the same Jerry Jones who kept Garrett for so many years. Where it was like every single year it was like, surely he's got to get rid of him now. He's just gone 8-8, gives you one more year to get to like 10 wins and losing the playoffs. But we'll give him another year. And it felt like that was constant where next year he's not going to have it's his last year of the contract, and he extended him, and he felt like they got rid of Garrett 4 or 5 years too late as well. So I'm wondering if he's going to do the same thing that if they win, because they should. I know they've got the tough schedule, but still, you expect the Cowboys with the squad
double digits,
to get double digits, and you can use that as an excuse to keep him and to try and keep a job. But I think it was more surprising just how Jerry Jones had said before the game, and also how he felt like last year, where some of his comments were like, "We'll take game by game," and that was probably one of the worst games for quite some time for the Cowboys. So it was interesting that he made that comment and then suddenly he does it. But I still think and we've said this, he has an issue with he wants his head coach to be someone like under him, someone who he can control. Yeah. And I think all the people which were suggested coming in, which would help the Cowboys, I don't know if Jerry would want them. I don't know if that relationship would work. And it feels like this is the year where there's a lot of good coaches out there, not just the ones who have left, but there's a lot of coordinators who have done a good job in certain teams where you've got the opportunity. And it just feels, and I think it's more like the Cowboys needs, like, not disciplinarian, but someone who just gets the team on the right track, gets them ready for games. And there's a few out there right now. Is it going to be the same next year? Who knows? They might just be waiting for Mike Tomlin to play out his contract in Pittsburgh.
I think ultimately, I don't think Dan Quinn's going to go anywhere either. We talked about him, that he should probably go with him as well, because I just don't see him being offered a job. I just don't. I think the Seahawks one's the one that makes most sense. But if you're looking at that as an owner and a GM,
it's a tough sell to your fan base.
Yeah, after that. And it's hard because it's potentially unfair because he's actually done a lot of very, very good work.
Yeah.
But could he be
that inflexible?
Yeah. Could he be the scapegoat of this team? Yes. So like in a year or two, they could be like, we're going to get rid of Dan Quinn.
That's what I thought Kellen Moore was last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, well, you get rid of the OC, and now it's my ship. And now it's like, okay, now I get rid of the DC as well, and now it's going to be Ryan. It's like, and I'd be kind of surprised whether Dan Quinn gets a job or not. I think that there has to be a change, and it's not the head coach. So I think it's kind of stands to reason that it will be Dan Quinn, whether he gets another job or not. I think something has to change. I think it's really hard for Dallas to go, everything's fine, we're just coming back as was, because that's, again, a tough sell as well.
I mean, McCarthy's press conference, if you saw it earlier on, that's exactly the line he was going. We're on the right track. We've got everything's in place. I know how to win. That hurt me the most. I know how to win, and this is, we're built to win championships, just not quite the world championship. Yeah, it was just irritating.
It sounds, I haven't seen it.
It's awful. Anyway, but this stinks very much of the Jason Garrett went 8-8 3 years in a row, 11, 12, 13, and Dallas Cowboys lost in essence, what was a playoff game to win the division to the Giants, to the Washington and to the Eagles in back-to-back years, and just Jerry didn't do anything. So we'll see, but yeah.
Well, then we were close to winning divisions, just not the NFC East.
Yeah.
So, we have improved. At least we're winning some kind of championship. I guess the NFC East now, just not the world championship. So maybe the next coach, when he gets 27 years to right the ship, whoever that might be, Stephen Jones, maybe give him a job. He can get us on to world championships.
Yeah. Moving on to, I suppose, another team that's got a history of winning. They have made a hire. So Bill Belichick left the New England Patriots and was swiftly replaced by Jared Mayo. So I think we had the inkling this was going to be the case. I didn't necessarily think it was the right move, but Jared Mayo confirmed as the New England Patriots head coach. What are the thoughts?
He seems beloved in Foxborough. So, there was old footage dug up of, I think it was from like the mid-noughties of Tom Brady even calling him Jared Belichick. Because, if you wanted something done in the locker room, get Jared Mayo to go and ask for it, because Belichick adores him. Belichick's favorite ever player, from what they were saying. And I didn't realize this. When it got mentioned, I remember it being discussed last year as why Jared Mayo kind of stuck around last year, is it went into his contract that he would be the next head coach. So if we remembered that, we probably wouldn't have spent so much time discussing whether it was going to be Mike Vrabel, because it was kind of always going to be Jared Mayo. That's why I didn't do the interview process, because he was contracted to take on the job when it became available. So I do find it a little weird that they've gone from Belichick to a Belichick disciple. But, I don't know anything negative of Jared Mayo. I've only ever seen positives about him. So I'm willing to give him a crack of it and see what comes of it. It's fresh blood. It's not, there have been plenty of Belichick failures in the coaching tree, but he's a young coach. It's his first job. I don't have any reason to doubt him, certainly. Like I say, seems beloved in the building. So,
yeah, and he seems a bit different to Belichick. Just even with his press conference, just how he is. And I think he's got respect from everyone. You can tell that. Like, I know there was the, what did Kraft said, like, I don't see color or something, and then Jared Mayo went, people who say that, so he's got the he's got the balls to just like say, and I think he has that relation. I don't think Kraft was doing anything wrong, but I think he has that relationship and that he has a respect from the ownership that he could do that and it's fine. That's just who he is. And I heard some of his comments. Just he's not in a way it's like Belichick where everything has to be really strict and it has to be this. It sounded like he wants to create like an atmosphere and he wants to get more people involved because it sounded like when he was under Belichick's ship, he was like the one in control. He wouldn't like certain people wouldn't have passes to certain places, and it's like so it wasn't quite. It felt like it was really strict and very stingent, but he feels like Mayo's more up and it's more about the atmosphere rather than the scheme and being like this is the Patriot way, this is the only way. But I think he's also got obviously that within him as well. So I think you can't judge him straight away. You've got to give him a year or two. Obviously, you don't really want to be the guy replacing the guy. So it's a tricky position. Like what happens if they go again like 5-12 in his first year? And with that squad, they could do that depending.
Very likely.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to choose a quarterback and who that is. Obviously, it turns out. So hopefully he gets some time and people don't try and compare him to Belichick, but obviously media and fans do automatically. So good luck to him, and seems a good fellow and great coach. Yeah,
you're just naturally going to always be compared to his height. You're just never going to get away from it. You're just never ever going to get away from it. It's just one of those things. We just talked about the Cowboys, always just talking about that championship team in the 90s. You're never going to get away from it. Just had fucking Jimmy Johnson in the building 3 weeks. You just never.
On a related note, I think something the other day. 1990 is as far away now as 1956 was from 1990. So maybe we should piss off worrying about the 1990 teams for a little bit. Because I don't remember when I was watching football in the 90s going, oh, well, how does this compare to the 1950s? Like, it just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
Maybe just let it go a little.
Let it go, absolutely. I've just got a couple of worries for them, the Patriots. I just think, obviously, Mayo played under Belichick, spent his coaching career, but Mayo is coming to that team as the inside linebackers coach, coming into that team as the Patriots started to win. I think Mayo was there for Brady's last year, 2019, started coaching. And then, so he's been there for the
demise.
I said demise. Somebody messaged us on Instagram saying demise was a bit of an extreme word for Belichick. I can't remember who it was. But yeah.
It's accurate.
Yeah. And I just worry like if he, it's not as if he's there. He was there as a player, obviously, and retired, but I don't know. I just think it's taking someone from. I feel he just might have been better getting someone from outside in, but that's just my thoughts. But yeah, he best like him. He seemed like a great guy. So,
like Joe says, they're picking at 3. They were taking a quarterback, and the defense has been so good. Obviously, they need to get that offense going. And the one thing I think Mayo can do is play condomentary football.
Outstanding. Let's talk about Bill. So Bill's had a first interview with the Atlanta Falcons. He's scheduled a second one. Yeah. What do we think?
If he's going for a second interview, he's confident he's getting it.
Just imagine kind of that interview. Bill, tell us about the time when you overcame extreme adversity in the workplace. Well, I was down 28-3 in the Super Bowl and...
Yeah. It feels like Basil Fawlty, like, don't mention the war. Don't mention 28-3. How do you interview Bill Belichick, though?
Does he interview you? Is that how this is actually going? Belichick's actually interviewing the team, the owner?
He's checking out Atlanta's hotspots and seeing where he...
Yeah, I mean, the one question I might have is, how are you going to prepare a team without a Hall of Fame quarterback? Because we don't have one.
Well, I think there was I saw something, it was on Bleacher Report, I don't know who reported it, but I think Belichick said he wants to find a project. He doesn't just want to go into something ready-made. So, and you can see Falcons as a project in terms of they've got the pieces and they've got, especially in offense, and that defense look better, and he can elevate that. It's just the one position, like we've always said, it's usually the difference between a playoff team and not a playoff team is the quarterback, unfortunately. Because when you look at some of the teams who's still in it now, to be honest, if you change that quarterback for someone else, it's like, oh, they would be in that position instead. So it's for most teams. So be curious. And they're picking number 8, so obviously someone could slide down to number 8. It always happens. Yep. You know, there's usually 1 or 2 going near the top, and then someone always like slides down, or even like top of the second, you could easily get someone. Like the kid from Michigan's been mentioned.
JJ McCarthy, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, but it's curious. I think a Falcons is a bit why not? Give it a go and see what he can do, but maybe don't give him like a huge contract so you're stuck with him for a number of years, I think.
I'm not as convinced by what you just mentioned, and it links in that Patriots do pick a quarterback at 3, because I think the first 2 go. I'm pretty convinced the Bears move on from Fields. So they take Caleb Williams. Commanders at 2 take Drake May. I don't think you reach. I think the quarterback at 3 then becomes a reach.
Yeah,
so,
maybe, yeah.
And I think maybe Atlanta could be in the Michael Penix Jr. position. Jalen Daniels, I don't know. But also I saw this because I was I had a weirdly looking at the specials on Bet365 earlier. So the only special they've got up is Russell Wilson's team.
Oh, yeah.
As of September. That's
was your Falcons' favourite?
Yeah, Falcons are favourite, and by quite a distance as well.
They were heavily linked a couple of weeks ago.
Interesting, yeah. And possibly trade for Field. Could they be the team that trade for Justin Fields as well? Because I think he's going to definitely move out of Chicago. So yeah, interesting. So it could be an interesting spot for Belichick. And the only other bit of business was that I think we discussed it, but Tomlin's back as well. So
yeah.
So that will continue.
And not confirmed, but it seems like people are very confident that Ed Dodds, the Baltimore Ravens assistant GM, is going to be the new GM in Chargerville, and Jim Harbaugh, therefore, will be the head coach alongside him. I haven't seen that; isn't confirmed yet. That's been very strongly rumored, so I think that's a great fit. Truthfully, hell of a difference from Brandon Staley.
Yeah, for sure.
And much more like to get some winning football in LA, regardless of what their cap situation is compared to last year.
Be good to have Harbaugh back in the NFL. Yeah. I still think there's a chance he stays at Michigan as well.
I wouldn't be stunned, yeah.
Right, let's roll into our games. So after we've done coach talk, Texans Ravens. We've just heard from Graham on that about what he thinks of the Texans' chances. Texans are 9.5 point underdogs. Over under is, Joe, tell me what the over under is, 44. Yep. Joe, we've not heard from you on this one. What's your take on the game and where you're leaning?
I think this is the game of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to this. The Ravens arguably the best team in the NFL, and I know they're not the favourites with the bookies, but I know they're second favourites. And this Houston team, I think it's one of them where, again, they've got nothing to lose. So if they lose to the Ravens here, it's like, well, they've had a fantastic season. But if they beat the Ravens, like, wow, CJ Stroud's elevates even more, which you wouldn't feel like is possible because he's already hit the heights so far. But if they beat the Ravens at their ground, I think that'd be crazy. I just think the Ravens will be too, like, their defense is one of the defense who has managed to sustain how good they are throughout the season, and I think it could be too much for the Texans in general. And yeah, Lamar's Lamar, and he's going to put some points on. I think the only way I only see the Baltimore way losing is one of them games where they've lost it, rather than Houston basically beating the doors off them. I don't think that'll happen. So I think they've got to keep it a close game, because especially with how the Ravens play, it feels like when they get a lead, they don't let it go. So I've gone for the Ravens to cover. I know it's 9 points and it does feel a lot, but I'm just confident that the Ravens is one of them games where they're going to show who they really are, and it's Lamar Jackson's time in the playoffs, I feel like. So yeah, I'm going the Ravens, and I think I would go over as well. We're going to go over 44.
Does this shock you, by the way, just on the Ravens? So obviously the Ravens came back after the kind of team went in the middle of the night back, way back when. So since the Baltimore Ravens have been back, since the Baltimore Ravens have come in existence.
2000, right?
Baltimore. I think they came back in 96.
Okay.
I don't know if they won this first Super Bowl in 2000, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of the Browns came back in 2000. And yeah, they won the first Super Bowl 2000, you're right, yeah.
Yes, the Ravens came back in 1996. How many home playoff games do you think they've had in those 27 seasons?
4.
Oh, I think it'd be more than that. So they've won the division, say 8 times. I'm going to say 12.
Well, this on Saturday, this is the 8th.
Oh, right in the middle.
I
think just that's.
Can't believe that was right in the middle.
How good? How good? There's been a lot of really good Baltimore Ravens teams.
Yeah.
It just seems a real.
But when I was like thinking of the runs, it was always away from home, like the Denver game. Yeah, going to Denver with that.
A lot as a wild card team and not necessarily many division wins. I mean, I'd say that's unfair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, yeah, obviously 7. 7 division wins is what they've had. So seemed odd. Also, Joe, I know you love the over, but all 7 of those home games have hit the under 7 in a row. So every single Ravens home playoff game has hit the under so far.
I feel like this is a different team there. I feel like the offense is a bit more explosive, and you saw them against like the 49ers and against the Dolphins, and they were able to pile the points on. So, I know the Texans defense played well against Joe Flacco, but this is a whole new beast. I think for the over, it just depends how Houston play, and they managed to keep the scoreboard ticking. I think that's probably that's why it's at 44 and not any higher, is that are Houston going to score 20 and above? I think that's it. I think the Baltimore's going to get in the 20s. I just think they're that kind of team where once they get on a roll and they'll start and they'll keep playing. And now they've just got Dalvin Cook. I know that probably doesn't make him that much better, but it's just another option at running back. And
we're going to see Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
maybe. I think we are. I don't think they would have. They've put him in. He's been back. He was back in training last week in practice. I think that's enough. I think we're going to see Mark Andrews. Any bets? So, Joe, over for you, possibly Ravens as well. But any other bets for this one?
Well, since we talked to Graham yesterday, Marlon Humphrey has been ruled out for the Ravens. And that kind of just solidifies how much I like Nico Collins. And truthfully, kind of that I like the plus 9.5 it was yesterday. I think it's down to plus 9 now, though, for the Texans. Nico Collins' line is at 77, so I mean, it's not short, but plus 160 for a TD I like a lot. And for another touchdown, Dalton Schultz at plus 295. I mean, 3-1 on Dalton Schultz touchdown seems like a great value to me.
Yeah. I'm going to take, assuming he's play, I will be checking before him, but I'm going to be taking Mark Andrews anytime touchdown scorer at plus 150. I think just another weapon. Isaiah Likely's done a great job. Also a great shout for a touchdown at plus 210. Yeah. And naturally, Isaiah Likely's going to lose some of his targets, but he's done such a good job. I don't think he'll all of a sudden be out the game plan completely. And you've just got yet another weapon. So, yeah, I like those. And you can probably double them up as well, to be fair.
Just curious, on the Fantasy Game Day, does Mark Andrews come in reduced due to his injury worries? Because obviously, this is the first game of the weekend, so we'll have his, we'll know if he's active or not.
Yeah, beforehand, yeah.
When it actually kicks off, which is a big advantage because it's the only game that's possible for. So
yeah, he's third of the tight end, so he's 4,300. He's behind Kittle and Laporta. Any other Fantasy Game Day shouts for this one?
Well, I was going to just shout another bet. I like Lamar Jackson, 2 or more touchdowns at plus 650. It just feels like I've got a feeling it's going to be one of them games where he takes over, where, he just, how he does, he just rolls to the right or left and just sprints into the corner. So I'm going to go Lamar Jackson, 2 or more touchdowns. And it's one of them things with Mark Andrews, like Isaiah Likely. I know, obviously, with Andrews coming back, but it feels like they had a good connection. So I don't know how much Likely is on the Fantasy Game Day, but that could be a nice cheap tight end if you wanted to stack on.
Yeah, 2,900 for Isaiah Likely. He's got 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games, 5 touchdowns in his last 5 games. So yeah,
feels like a gimme that 2,900. That's nothing, isn't it?
2,900, and so
what was Andrews?
4,300.
Yeah, I'd much rather slot Likely and then stack up elsewhere.
So I'll just put Isaiah Likely in our lineup now, yeah.
Seems like a likely decision.
And any other Fantasy Game Day shouts for this one?
No, I do like getting Nico Collins in again, obviously price dependent, but no Marlon Humphrey. He's a big dog in Houston, and he's been so good the last few weeks since he came back. Well, since CJ Stroud came back in. So
6,900 for Nico Collins.
Nice.
Third most expensive, second most expensive wide receiver. Nearly called him tight. Said the wrong number and the wrong position.
Other than that, you're nailing it.
Yeah. It's been a long day. Let's move on, shall we? Our next matchup, our next game. Joe, it's your San Francisco 49ers. They host the Green Bay Packers, who are fresh off the demolition job they put on the Cowboys in Dallas. Big number. Packers are 9.5-point underdogs. Over under is 50.5. Joe, how are you feeling?
Weirdly, I'm not feeling that nervous for this game, and I don't know why. Especially how Green Bay obviously played against the Cowboys, but I hope that was like their Super Bowl, that they had that big win. So can they carry that on? It feel like they had the perfect game against the Cowboys. Can they do that against the 49ers? There's a difference between the 49ers and the Cowboys. Like Cowboys, it felt like they were scared to lose. They had all the pressure to like, oh God, we're going to lose again. But it feels like there's more like the 49ers, even though they haven't won the Super Bowl, that squad itself have got confidence that, we could beat anyone.
Yeah. And
it feels like, this game, they played Green Bay a few times in the last few years, and not the last game in Green Bay because that was snowy conditions, but the other games where they've had a 49ers, they've dominated them games. I think Jordan loves slight different quarterback to Aaron Rodgers, but I'm fairly confident, and I think it helps that the Green Bay played so well last week that it means the 49ers are not going to underestimate them as well. I feel that helped. If it was like they scraped through against the Cowboys and both teams didn't look great, I think they may have already thought, we're in the conference championship. But because they dominated and whipped the Cowboys, I think the 49ers are more like, okay, we've got to take these serious. And we've got and I feel like Shanahan he usually beats his disciples. It has this weird thing whenever he plays, other head coaches who were under him in other teams. It feels like he wins them games more than others. So, hopefully they can exploit Green Bay's defense as well. Because I know they played well the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I think this is a different opposition who exploits their weakness. And I think with the weapons they've got, that they can just pick and choose what kind of game they want to play against the Packers. And so I think it's a big game for Purdy. I think last year there was pressure on him, but not as much as this year. I think it is on him. That I think if they lose, it's because he's made the mistakes rather than anything else. I can't see the defense, shit in the bed. Like they've done a few games, I think they'll be up for it. So if it's big game Purdy, and there's a few players who have come back. I think Eric Armstead being back is massive for the 49ers because he's the main defensive tackle. I would even say over Hargreaves, especially stopping the run. And they've had issues with stopping the run the last few weeks while he's been out for the last 5 or 6 weeks. So he's back. And then you can get players like Kinlaw into rotational rather than depending on them to play 60 snaps a game. So I think it's going to be a close game. So I've chosen the Packers with the plus 9.5 just because it feels like the 49ers do, except that 1 year where they absolutely dominated the Vikings and Packers. It feels like every single playoff game, it comes down to can the defense hold in the last 30 seconds. It feels like every single playoff games where I can't watch it comfortably. I have to be biting my nails and walking up and down. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the 49ers win it.
I think I'm similar to you. I think the Packers might keep it close for the first half, maybe even into 3 quarters, but I just think the Niners will just kind of pull away from them. I've gone the Niners. I just think the Packers need to get somewhere close to the level they played against the Cowboys last week just to be able to keep up with the Niners. I think that's the difference. I don't like, and it's not a dig at the Packers for that. They were incredible last week. I just don't think they're going to be able to match that again this week. So, slightly shorter week.
And to be fair,
2 weeks rest, pretty much.
Yeah, the Packers got in on the last week by beating the Bears. The 49ers were resting their players because they've dominated so much this season. It's not unfair to say one's stronger than the other. Yeah. This is a first year as Jordan Love's a starter. A bit like the Texans, they're on house money, not borrowed time. anything's a bonus here. You know, they went into Dallas and had one of the best playoff performances in pick a date period. You know, it's been forever since we've seen a young quarterback come in and do that to a strong, inferior NFL team. So, yeah, certainly not to say the Packers can't win, but I think it's fair to have I think the number's fair for the 49ers.
Yeah, I think, just looking at it, obviously, we talked about how the Packers own the Cowboys. Well, similarly, the Niners own the Packers.
Yeah.
The Niners are 4-1 straight up in the last 5 playoff games versus the Packers. A little bit worried the home form's dropped off a bit, I think, in terms of ATS for the Niners. So they're 0-5 in the last 5 at home against the spread, the Niners, especially with a big number that could put you off. And also from an under-over perspective, the last 6 Packers road games in a row have hit the over. They're also 8-2 on the season. 8-2 have hit the over. 8 out of 10 have hit the over for the Packers. So, yeah, could be a close game. I just think the Niners are just going to pull away that second half. And just kind of show the class. Any bets that we're liking for this one?
I can't bet it, but Christian McCaffrey is minus 320 for any time touchdown. I just wanted to shout that out as some of the most insane value I've ever seen. He probably will score a touchdown, but you can't bet plus 320. He's minus 320, sorry. Plus 320 maybe. Well, definitely. Yeah. He's plus 155, 2 or more touchdowns. And again, he'll probably hit it, but you can't bet that at plus 150. That is obscene. They don't want you to bet it, obviously. That's why it's that price. I think you can kind of take your pick a Green Bay pass catcher to get a touchdown. Though Tucker Kraft plus 475, Musgrave plus 400. I think those are both good calls. And again, you've got Dontavian Wicks plus 300. Jaden Reed had a quieter game against Cowboys last week. He's plus 200, but I would target one of them tight ends plus 475, plus 400. Kraft and Musgrave both had real solid rookie seasons. Can both hit the end zone.
Yeah, it's tough to find value in the touchdown scores for the Niners for sure. Joe, anything you've seen that you've liked?
No, I haven't really looked into the bet. I think it's like similar to what Byron said about the Packers to the 49ers. There's like 5 or 6 players who you could easily choose to get a touchdown. I feel like it's going to be a big Kittle game, so I'll probably look what his over-under yards are and catches. I just feel like
it's 52.5 for yardage.
Yeah, so I feel like in the playoffs, he's like Purdy security security So I think, you could go all of them. I think that's the problem with the 49ers team. It's like, because I was thinking, I think Deebo Samuel's also like with the rushers and just like the slants across the field. But I also think Ayuk stepped up this year, and he's the big player kind of player. So they're going to target him. Like, I know the Green Bay team's defense has been better, but I'm guessing they can be got at certainly in the secondary. So it's and then obviously you got McCaffrey as well. So I'll probably go Kittle with 52. I think he'll especially when he's close. But most playoff games, Kittle normally stands up and at least gets a good chunky yardage.
3.5 receptions as well as the line.
Oh, definitely over than that.
Yeah, over 3.5 for George Kittle. Cool. Fantasy Game Day shouts again. We've probably kind of discussed some of them. So, I mean, we'll start. McCaffrey's 8,700. So, I don't know if that puts you in a similar situation to if you took CD Lamb last week, where that's such a chunk. It's well over 20% of your budget. Mm-hmm. Any other shout outs where we might see a bit more value?
Again, I like the way Jaden Reed gets scheme touches. He didn't last week because.
Did he not get a catch last week?
I'm not sure if he got any, but he certainly wasn't his usual self. But the Packers just went 12 personnel the entire game and had 2 tight ends on the field because Dan Quinn doesn't know how to stop it and didn't adjust the entire game to it. I think there'll be an emphasis on getting him the ball. He reminds me a lot of Deebo Samuel, and I'm not going to say because they're playing the 49ers he'll be used like Deebo. I think he has been used like Deebo. I think coming off a quiet game, hopefully his price is a little reduced. Probably not hugely though.
5,300, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Jaden Reed though. And I just like players like him and Deebo who get like scheme touches in any way. I think are always good values in these kind of shorter weeks where, you don't want to take too many or any zeros really. He's always going to kind of get something going. Yeah. I say after he done nothing last week.
Yeah, Deebo 6,300 as well, as we just mentioned him.
Is he more expensive than Ayuk then, I'm guessing? Yeah.
Yes, Ayuk's 5'9".
Yeah. It's so hard with the Niners, like Joe's saying, because realistically, 3 of the 4 might well go off. but you just don't want to bet on the one that doesn't because they're all so expensive.
I'd also take Aaron Jones as well. I know obviously the Niners will be much better at stopping the run, but he's going to get 20 to 25 carries just because Green Bay have committed to running, make sure they're balanced and they run the ball with him. So I think he'll get somewhere close to 100 yards. And obviously he got the touchdowns last week that he'd been missing beforehand.
Yeah, and the 49ers have not been great against the run, and they've been surprisingly missing a lot of tackles, especially Warner and Greenlaw. So they might obviously step up in the playoffs, and having a week or two rest is definitely going to help them where they come out. But yeah, definitely Aaron Jones. What's Wicks for Packers? Because I feel like they'll probably try and shut down Reed in terms of Ward, but the other 49ers secondary are not amazing, so they might try and pick on them. So, and Wicks feels like one of them players who's and similar to like Dobbs, who's always like there just to pick up yardage, how Jordan Love's been playing.
Yeah, 3,900, so potentially good value. I love how Joe was like, oh yeah, the Niners haven't been as good at stopping the run, and they've been giving up less than 90 yards a game on the ground.
But when you watch it, like when you watch the last few games, like Arizona, the Rams, all that kind, like the last few games, there've been not some great.
And it's harder to generally for teams to run on the Niners because they're down by a touchdown.
Yeah, I suppose you naturally.
So, like, what they're doing on a per carry basis is probably going to be a lot better than 90 yards over a game. Yeah. And just with this being, this is the highest spread of the week. Not highest spread, the highest points total of the week, 50.5. Brock Purdy.
That sound effect for the audio recording, man. Joe pouring his drink.
That's his drink him up pick of the week, Brock Purdy.
There you go, yeah.
Not sure what drink him up means.
Yeah, I would say with Purdy, he'll win it or he'll bury you. He's one of them like if they go off, then obviously he's going to score those points. But he's one of them quarterbacks who could also have a stinker, throw 2 interceptions, and the Green Bay goes on to the next round. It's definitely on him.
And I think there's kind of don't want to get too deep into fantasy game day, I guess, but I think you either go CMC captain or you go Purdy and at least one.
Debo or somebody else, yeah.
Yeah.
6,100 for Brock Purdy is the 4th ranked quarterback on the week behind Jackson, Stroud, and Love. Lamar.
Allen and Mahomes are both cheaper.
Oh, sorry, Allen. Sorry, I didn't scroll down. 5th, Allen.
Okay.
For some reason,
I
Josh Allen at the top, yeah.
I could see him being above Mahomes. I was just kind of surprised that it was Allen.
Mahomes is the same price. So.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
I kind of like him there, though. Yeah, like Joe says, though, he might well destroy your week, but got to shoot for the stars, right?
Well, especially if a lot of people don't pick him and they go with one of the other big quarterbacks, then
yeah. Right. Let's move on. We've still got 2 games to talk about. Buccaneers Lions. Buccaneers are 6.5-point underdogs on the road to Detroit and Ford Field. The over/under on this one is 48.5. Where are we thinking on this one? The Lions sort of ride that momentum from last week, or have the Bucs shown that they are more than alive enough to come and spoil the party?
Well, the Buccaneers going to be able to handle the cold in Detroit.
How Todd Bowles dealt with that was brilliant as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even see what Todd Bowles replied. I seen they asked the question. I was like, oh.
Well, he just kind of looked at her and then was like, I think he was like, is this a rib? Is this a joke? And then just kind of got to it. It's like, we are playing indoors, right? There's a dome. And he sort of said, well, that 20 seconds from the coach to the getting inside the stadium might be pretty cold. But apart from that, they'll be okay. Yeah, I feel for 60s. I don't think necessarily that's like a local Tampa Bay journalist is sent down to go kind of because they're in the playoffs and they've won a playoff game. Who knows nothing about? Well, that's wrong to say they know nothing about football, but clearly
they're not a sports reporter.
Yeah, certainly not a sports reporter. So
yeah,
and just kind of made it look a bit foolish, but yeah.
But yeah, I think this is another like similar to the first two where the Bucs have got nothing to lose. Again, if they lose here, you're going to, when you look at how much dead money they've had this year, no one expected anything when Baker came in. Todd Bowles was under pressure where, I think a few people expected him to get fired at the end of the year. So, they've done great to get to this point. And I think it's getting to that point where the Lions and Jared Goff, the expectation now, I think against the Rams,
Yeah,
against the Rams, it was like, yeah, they were the favourites and they had the pressure of winning that first game. But now it's like, oh, we've won one game. We could get to the Super Bowl. And is that, I think with Jared Goff, obviously he got there with the Rams, but that Rams team was special around him. Can this Detroit Lions be the same? I think that's the first question. And yeah, and I think why I've picked the Bucs with that spread, I think one, obviously the pressure and like the Lions have been playing a few close games and it's not like they've been blowing teams out. Obviously last week and the week before. But I also think the Buccaneers can pressure Goff. And I think we saw how with the Eagles that offensive line could be the make or break, because if they're getting after Goff, then it's a completely different game to if he's got time and he can throw down the field and he's got plenty of weapons. Obviously, Sam Laporte having another week is going to be big for the Lions. And on vice versa, I still think this Lions defense can get got her. I think they had a great game against the Rams in the red zone, but most of the rest of the game, they were absolutely getting destroyed by the wide receivers. And I think with the Tampa Bay receivers, with Evans, Godwin, they can hit big plays. And I think Baker's got to take some chances when they're not in the red zone beforehand to try and throw some bombs to try and get at this secondary, because I think that's probably their weakest spot is that secondary. And there's been plenty of teams who've been able to score plenty of points on the Lions. And it's the Lions' ability to keep up with that is what's kept them in a lot of games. But now it's like it's the playoffs, and yeah, can Goff carry on and can that defense have another good game in the red zone?
If the Bucs could have caught on Monday night, they'd have put 50 on the Eagles.
I was going to say, you can't expect Mike Evans to drop those again. That can't be your defensive philosophy. Mike Evans will probably just keep dropping the ball because he's not going to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this just might be the end of the road for the Buccaneers. It might just be too much. They've been great on the road, and I kind of think they're 8-1 against the spread on the road so far. I just think that this might be one where they just get overwhelmed by the Lions. The Lions were in a very, very, very close game last week, and I think this might be one where I think we're going to see the Ben Johnson do what the Eagles.
Brian Johnson.
Sorry, Brian. Where was it? Ben Johnson?
No, Brian Johnson's the Eagles.
Yes, sorry, yes. Ben Johnson, what Brian Johnson didn't do, which was help his quarterback out with some of these plays, knowing that the Blitz top balls isn't going to change. That Bucs team have had success blitzing, then all of us going to suddenly just sit back in zones. That might be the strategy to confuse Goff, actually. I don't know. But, they're going to blitz, and I think they will have bits. I think what this could be is a huge Gibbs game as a catcher out the backfield, quick dump offs to him, yards after the catch sort of vibe to punish the blitz, sort of throw into the blitz kind of strategy. And that's why I think the Lions might get some joy. And you know what? You're right. Baker's going to have to take chances. Baker will take chances. It's his nature. He'll absolutely air that ball out. So, yeah, I think this is going to be like a surprisingly good game. It's probably maybe the least anticipated of the 4 of the weekend, but I think this could be still be a really, really good game. But I like the Lions, and I think the Lions might win this by a couple of scores.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm leaning as well. And I'm sure we're going to get onto bets and fantasy game day, but I think with that blitz-heavy nature of the Bucs, these are the Lions, I'm kind of thinking, he's not been getting so much volume in terms of targets this last week, but Jameson Williams has been coming on pretty strong the last 6 weeks. He's plus 310 anytime touchdown, plus 3,500 2 touchdowns or more, and I like as well plus 500 for 70 or more receiving yards. I just think if Tampa Bay bring bodies, he's someone that if you leave him one-on-one, you can't catch him.
Yeah, and it is. They are the Bucs. This game are going to live and die by the blitz.
Absolutely. And I mean, Goff doesn't always do well. He definitely doesn't do as well under pressure. He has his moments where he does fine. He has his moments where he melts. If you give him a clean pocket, he's going to pick you apart.
Yeah. Also, just speaking of the potential props and bets, if I see a Trey Palmer tweet, I'm hammering his props.
Yeah, well, you might want to get it on before he tweets, to be fair, because he's plus 425 anytime touchdown now. And I'm sure if he's pissed off on Sunday morning, it's probably going to be minus 200, same as Christian McCaffrey kind of range. So
his yards anyway, his props is 17.5.
Yeah, he's kind of just a speedy deep threat guy. That's one reception really, so that's really not a bad bet.
Yeah, like that one. Let's get to fantasy game day because I think this could be one where there's a lot of great options. What are we feeling?
I like both Lions wide receivers. I'd be interested to see Sam Laporta's price as well. If he's top of the range, I'm probably not paying up for him. But he had a touchdown but a quiet week last week. Is he going to get ramped up this week?
Amon-Ra St. Brown 7,500. Gibbs 5,700. Mentioned it could be a huge game for him. Montgomery 5,300. Evans 5,500. Where else did we get to? Laporta 4,500. I'm trying to find Jameson Williams on this list. Jameson Williams 2,700.
Well, it's him or Dontavian Wicks as your enabler, isn't he?
I mean, I guess him with Wicks and I say likely, you can afford to chuck CMC in as your captain, can't you? Then
I think if you put them two in, you can basically pick the rest of your lineup what you'd like. I would think.
Yeah, a couple of them that'll free up some funds for you.
Yeah.
Joe, any shout-outs from you?
Yeah, definitely like Evans and Godwin, depending on what their price is and see where they fit in. The only issue I have with like Gibbs and Montgomery, like watching that last game, it does feel like they're in a drive, especially at the beginning. It's like, okay, you're in this drive and then you're in this drive. And then if there's not that many drives in a game, if it's like, their tactic is to like try and keep the ball as much as possible, run down the clock, like with the running game. So with, for example, Gibbs, it might only be in 4 drives and you're gambling on, does he get the points and get the volume? I think that's the only problem with going for them too. But yeah, I'd certainly like Evans or Godwin just because of that. Similar to what Puka did last week, where he did get tons of yards, and I think that's the only way, because Tampa Bay's rushing attack's not been great.
No, it's been poor. Yeah.
Yes, so I think the only way they're going to win this, and probably the only way they're going to play this, is by trying to get plenty of yards in the air, and obviously they're the main 2 targets and Amon-Ra Brown. I think I shout him out every week. He's just one of them wide receivers who's going to catch most things and probably get you at least 70, 80 yards. It's just, does he go off? And with that price versus other wide receivers in the other games is a big thing.
Yeah, Goff, maybe surprisingly, I don't know. Is it surprising or not? He's the bottom of the starters market for the quarterbacks. He's 5,700 is your cheapest starting quarterback.
What about Baker? Is he more expensive?
5,900.
Yeah, I'd certainly rather have Goff than Baker. But
yeah,
I mean, it's tough to put Goff above many others. It's we're at the elite level now, aren't we? So it's it's 48.5 point over under, so it's the second highest of the week as well. So
yeah. Cool. Well, let's move on then to what I think. And Joey, I know you mentioned the other first game being potentially the game of the week. I mean, I think it's got to be this one for me. Chiefs at Bills. Mahomes on the road for the first time in the playoffs. Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Tony Romo is going to be going crazy in this one. Chiefs are 2.5 point underdogs. Over under 45.5. These two we've seen, well, not these two, the Chiefs and the Bills and Mahomes and Allen clashed in the playoffs before, and it's been, sensational games. How do we think this one's going to go?
I think it could be a tight game. Certainly, it's the smallest spread of the week. Obviously, 2.5 points. Second lowest over under 45.5. I've picked the Chiefs just. I really struggled picking this game though, because I think it is going to be close. The Bills, we don't know what you get week to week. The Chiefs looked, to me, surprisingly good last week, but I think the Dolphins kind of helped with that. I think a lot of it is, if the Chiefs turn up and play to their ability, I think the Chiefs will probably win. The Bills are the only team remaining in the dance, basically, who have a negative against the spread all season. They're 8-10 on the season. Everyone else is 9 or better. And I know the Bills have been playing well recently, but they've been very much in playoff or bust for weeks now. They had defensive injuries on Monday. They're on a shorter week, obviously, than the Chiefs by 2 days with the delayed game. And I think just those little bits are just going to be enough to just see the Chiefs through it. I think it's going to be heavy Pacheco. I think, that concentration of the Chiefs' attack is going to be very small. Pacheco, Rice, Kelsey. Bollocks off trying to pretend to throw McCall Hardman the ball because he doesn't know how to track a ball downfield. Just get Pacheco, get it Kelsey, and yeah, hope you can get Rashee Rice some yak because he's very good at it.
Joe, where are you at for this one?
Yeah, so I've lent the Bills just because I feel like it's their time to beat them. If they're going to beat Chiefs, in the playoffs, it feels like it's going to be this year with the Chiefs having a bit of a down year. Obviously, they played one of the best games last week, but it was against the Dolphins in freezing conditions. So it's certainly up for the Bills to win this game. 2.5 is one of them where the Bills are favourite, but also the books say if this was a neutral ground, then Kansas would be the favourite. So I think it's going to be a close game. I just worry that I hope it's not one of them games where everyone's excited for and it just doesn't live up to the hype and it's a bit of a dud. But yeah, I think this is on. It's really on the two quarter. Well, it's definitely on Josh Allen because I think the Chiefs' defense is probably the best unit out of probably both teams. So how is he going to play against them? Is he going to do? Because with Josh Allen, is either like, perfect, winning games on his own, or he's losing the games. It feels like there's never like an in-between. So can he, not fumble the ball? Can he not throw mindless interceptions, playing hero ball? And I don't think he will. I think looking at the stats, he's better at home than he is away. So I think that's an advantage. I think it's going to be cold in Buffalo again. I think they've just had another snowstorm. So I wonder if that'll affect any travel for the Chiefs and whatnot for them getting to Buffalo. So I think it's I think it's more of a bigger game for the Bills. I think they're the ones who's under pressure here just because they're finally playing at home. And obviously they beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks back, but that's obviously when we had the offensive offside and the meltdown of Patrick Mahomes. So it's one of them where it's like the Bills won, but if Tony was an inch, half a foot behind, we would have been saying, oh, well, the Chiefs managed to win an extraordinary game and they have this thing over the Bills. So
would the Bills got the playoffs?
I think they may have snuck in.
As a seven.
Yeah, but I think it would have been how it would have worked.
Team as we talked about at the start, of week 18, are the Chiefs going to do it? And they're just going to roll up and all of a sudden and things are looking better and the offense has got a bit of life and the defense is back to where it was earlier in the season. They're going to fucking do it again, aren't they?
I would say it was against the Dolphins, though, in like freezing conditions. So I need to see it again to be like they're back.
By the time you see that, though, it's a title game.
Exactly. Well, then I'll be like, oh, they're going to win. They're going to win the Super Bowl. It's like watching the Patriots over again, where you think, oh, they're never going to win it, and they still end up there. I think the big thing on is that how many injuries the Bills have got. I think McDermott listed like 9 or 10 players who are like starters. I think they've got quite a lot of starters on defense who are out who. They've said, I feel like Rasul Douglas. He said, he might be able to play, but he might be limited. And, you don't really want that when he's your main cornerback. So I think that's how they deal with that. But, you're playing a Chiefs offense, which haven't been able to do much against anyone. So I think if it was the Chiefs of old where they were firing all cylinders, throwing on teams and going crazy, and you'd be like, well, that's huge. And that's the Chiefs winning this. But I think they could keep it tight, and I just think it's the Bills' time. So I've picked the Bills with it being 2.5, winning by a field goal, getting over there, getting a field goal in the end, and not repeating history like they did against a few other teams in the 90s.
Yeah, anytime the Chiefs have got a plus number, I'm going to take them until they show me otherwise that they're not going to win with plus. Since Mahomes been the starter, Chiefs has been a road underdog 10 times. Mahomes is 9-0-1, so he's not lost against the spread as a road underdog. So until that happens, I'm just going to keep rolling because it's made me money so far. So
has he done it? He's not done it in the playoffs yet, though.
Not going to play. We don't know in the playoffs. That's right, Joe. You are spot on. Chiefs are 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 visits to Buffalo. All 3 of those games hit the under. I'm leaning heavy under on this one. I think it's going to be tight and low scoring, but still be a good game. that makes sense. This is the 5th playoff meeting between the two. The previous 4 have hit the over. That covers 1992 to 2022 there. This, again, the Patrick Holmes stats and achievements and things just are crazy, aren't they? If Mahomes wins if the Chiefs win on Sunday, it's not Mahomes, it's the team, obviously. That will give Patrick Mahomes 13 playoff wins already. That would tie him with Brett Favre and Ben Roethlisberger, put him one behind Peyton Manning, John Elway, and Terry Bradshaw. He's already got more than Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
Insane, isn't it?
He's how old?
Steve
27, I think. 27.
Yeah. Not enough good things to say.
Yeah, still got a while to go to catch Brady though, who's got 35.
35, yeah. But he does have a better rate. He's 80% win rate in the playoffs versus Brady's 72.9.
What a bum.
So yeah, just incredible. I think they're going to do it again. So there's no way this offense is so bad, and then they've just found a little something.
And if the defense can step up and Josh Allen can, he had a pretty perfect game on Monday, but I think he didn't need to be Josh Allen. He could just be controlled. But if they can get him frazzled at all, get a pick here or there, you don't need Mahomes to be 40 points, Mahomes. You just need him to, not going to say game manage, but just keep ticking the points over.
I think you're going to need, where Stefan Diggs been hiding, this feels like this is a moment he's going to need to kind of come out and be big.
But he's going to have to do it against Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
Who's had a better season than he has. Gabe Davis would be a big addition. Obviously he's had previous against the Chiefs in the playoffs, but he missed last week with injury. I have no idea of his status for this week. Khalil Shakir had a good game against... Still not practicing?
Yeah.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir had a good game, and he's been good second half of this season. I think he was a rookie last year. But, yeah, they need Stephon Diggs to have a big game, because Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox are all nice pieces, but I don't think this Chiefs defense is falling down against big, good pieces. I think it's going to take a big game from James Cook and or Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Any bets? What bets are we liking for this one?
So this is a DraftKings special one that I like. Allen and Mahomes combined, 100 plus rushing yards and a touchdown is plus 225. Yeah. Mahomes' rush is really nice in the playoffs. I always find it's like a little extra gear gets unlocked.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen, obviously, I did just have a look at what the numbers were, actually. Yeah, Josh Allen averages 54 rushing yards per playoff game, and one of them he only rushed for 3 yards. So, if you take that outlier out, it's going to be a lot more than 54 because he's only played in 9 played in 9 playoff games. So, if you take that 3 yards out and divide it by 8 instead, it's going to be 70 yards per game. And Mahomes is about 28, but his last 2 are over 40. And again, with that narrow target distribution, I just think Mahomes is just going to take off and he'll get his 30, 40 yards on a couple of runs even. So I think that's a really nice bet.
Yeah, I'm going to go, even though I got burnt on some of them last week, I think I like the Pacheco props again.
Yeah.
So his line's 60.5, so a little less than last week for his over-under. But for his milestones, again, I like 75 plus 1, which is plus 170. 100 plus is plus 450. Yeah, I think very much on the road, they might just lean a little bit more on the running game. Yeah. Any from you, Joe?
Yeah, I like James Cook. I think they're going to try and get him in the game. His over-under on receiving yards is 17.5. And I feel like there's going to be a few where they're going to have to just drop it over. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to get a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, and I think James Cook's the person to actually get them out of their issue. And I think and over 50 yards reception is plus 900. I'm just like, he only has to break one big one, and he's got that. I think he's one of the key players. Like I said, because who knows if Gabe Davis is playing or not, and James Cook's established himself as a top running back. So I think it's a huge game for him.
Yeah, it's been a huge part of this defense since Dorsey was fired as the OC. Fantasy Game Day shouts, Joe, for this one. Who we liking?
This one's a bit tricky because I think it's going to be a tight game. So he's just trying to work out where you go. Obviously, Rice for the Chiefs feels like the only. Well, I think I'm guessing Kelsey's fairly expensive, so maybe Rice because it feels like he's the main target for Patrick Mahomes, and if they're going to get points and yards, he's going to be the guy.
You'd be surprised. Kelsey's is the 5th ranked tight end, and he's only 3,500. You know he's going to get somewhat close to double-digit target. So yeah,
especially at that price, just to get Kelsey in to be, as a cheap option is Kelsey, and
wild.
and I know he had a few drops last week, but it was like minus whatever, so you can forgive him. So I think Kelsey at that price is certainly a good shout. And like I said, Rice. And then on the Bills side,
Rice is 5.5. Just so. Yeah.
Okay. Probably. You know what? This could be again another player where he wins you this, or he brings you down. Is someone Stephon Diggs? Just because it feels like it's him who needs that big game, and not many people are probably going to pick him. So if you pick and he goes off. But it's just the issue is that he's not really gone off in the last half a year. I can't remember last time where he was like unstoppable like he has been. Even against the Steelers, he had a decent game, but it wasn't like they were going back to him constantly and he was dominating.
He had 400-yard games in a row, weeks 3 to 6, and hasn't really been close since.
There you go.
It's wild, yeah. But yeah, some good shouts there. Stephon Diggs 4,900. So again, another really cheap option. You could build like a real superstar name team here, really cheaply this week in Fantasy Game Day, just the way it's all worked out. Right, that brings us to the end of the preview. We'll just quickly run over our ATS picks comp because we've talked through it. To be fair, so Joe leads the way 4-2. I'm 3-3. Byron's 2-4.
Make a break.
Can Joe win it this week?
Probably, sorry? Yeah. If I hit on all of them.
If
Joe goes 8-2 this week, he's won it.
Yeah. Me and Byron have picked the exact same each week. So we're on the Texans, Joe's on the Ravens. We're on the Niners, Joe's on the Packers. We're on the Lions, Joe's on the Bucks, and we're on the Chiefs and Joe's on the Bills. Yeah. Make or break for this one. Interesting. Let's see if we can take it to Conference Championship week, Byron.
Well, I figured there's no way I'm catching Joe, so I'm just gonna. I can't tail Joe, so I just picked them independently and then realised that obviously, but
you might go 4-0 and then it's me in the doghouse and you got 2 point lead with 3 games, So it's just how it's worked out.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do our draft. You ready for this? So we did it last week. So the standings are me and Joe were on 2-0. We both hit our picks. Byron went 1-1. So the draft order this week is going to be Byron first, Joe second, me third, and then we'll loop back round. What we'll do, just exactly the same as we did last week, is we have to pick one side of a spread and an over or an under. And we'll see if we can make a six-fold out of it. But it depends if we choose to go head-to-head with each other or not on any of the picks, which is possible as there's only 4 games. So, and given that Joe and me and Byron are on the opposite sides of the fence on stuff. So, yeah. I've prepared my list last week. I haven't this week. I was just kind of see how it went. So, yeah. Byron, the first pick of our playoff draft picks comp for a divisional round weekend. Who've you got? Does that sound like a good drum roll?
Oh, it was a drum roll. I thought you were having computer issues. Like you, I like the under on the Chiefs and the Bills, and I'm pretty sure I can take my pick of matchups when it gets back around to me. So I'm going to go the under 45.5 on the Chiefs-Bills matchup.
Okay. Chiefs, Bills, under 45.5 off the board.
I was hoping you didn't pick that, to be honest, because that was like my certain one, and the rest I'm like, oh God, what am I going to go for here? Okay. What am I going to go? What am I more confident in?
Just for the YouTube viewers, is that a Jacksonville Jaguars jersey, Joe?
Oh, it just says Jackson. It just says Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. I see Jacksonville. I'm like,
yeah,
it doesn't look like a Jags jersey, but I'm sure it says Jacksonville.
Just in case they get far, I've got some outfits to support them.
Bandwagon jumper.
I'm gonna go.
This is great podcasting, this, by the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the Bucks plus 6.5.
Oof. Okay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 6.5.
Underdog there.
Oh, do I do it? Do I just take the other side? What do I like here? I'm going to take just to go head to head? Oh, I've got to stick with my homes. I'm going to go Chiefs plus 2.5. I'm just got to stick with my homes as an underdog, and the Chiefs. Yeah, he's not lost as a road underdog.
Never lost on the road in the playoffs.
He's never lost on the road in the playoffs. Never not covered as a road underdog. And he can't be a push, so he's going to win, right?
I think so.
Chiefs plus 2.5, and then my total I'm going to take is that Packers Niners is too big a number. I'm going to say under 50.5. Packers Niners. I just think it's a crazy number. When they get that big, I think Packers will hang around for a bit, and then the Niners will just kind of pull away a bit. But maybe like 30, 13 or 30, 14, something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
30-21.
Yeah, well, maybe not. But yeah, I'm going to take Niners Packers under.
Cool. I've got to go over. I'm going to go. I shouted that earlier. Texans Ravens over 44. Let's have some points. Not all these unders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
And I will. Do I keep it a 6-fold, or do we go for 5-fold and take your pick on Lions Bucks? Yeah, I'm going to take Lions 6.5. Sorry,
no 6-fold.
I had to take your pick 5-fold though, so
yeah,
choose your adventure.
Choose your adventure like that. Lions minus 6.5, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you give me the plus 6.5 at same odds, I will take it. But
yeah. So just to quickly recap, Byron, his picks, he took the Chiefs Bills under 45.5, and the Lions minus 6.5. Joe took Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 6.5, and Texans Ravens over 44, and I took the Kansas City Chiefs plus 2.5, and Packers Niners under 50.5. So we'll see how we end up next week. That's us, chaps. We're done. Divisional round in the book. And somehow we've even managed to get a short episode, relatively short episode as well. 4 games and we get an hour and 40-minute episode out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got interview with Graham, which was great on the start as well. So
yeah, shout out again. Thanks, Graham, the Kilted Texan, for just being a great guest. Hopefully, we'll get Graham on in the future as well, because he was good fun, and he may, if you listen to this, have made the trip to Baltimore. Also, maybe get divorced as well. Maybe making his trip to Baltimore right now to go watch his Texans, and hopefully, if he does, hopefully he has a great time. But that's it for the divisional round. We're down to, I suppose, what would be we're going to have like the last 5 episodes of the season coming up. Divisional round review, conference championship preview review, and Super Bowl preview review.
Yeah, and I just popped it in the chat there, but the 4-fold players out 25-11. The 5-fold, sorry.
25-11, yeah. Nice. Choose your own adventure, whether you want to take the Lions minus 6.5 or Bucks plus 6.5 on that one.
There will
Choose
be no
your own
push.
adventure. 25-1 winner, that'd be nice. So thanks for watching. As always, go give us or listening, however you choose to consume good teams with great teams cover. Go give us a follow. Spotify. If you follow and subscribe on Spotify, you get notified when the new episode drops. So go do that. Also, give us a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, X, at GTW_GTC. One last bit. I'm going to be helping out the Utter Punts guys on their conference championship weekend watch along. So if you're in the Northwest or Manchester area, or you can travel further than that to go to Manchester if you want, then get yourself down to the Beer Keller in Manchester. Tickets are £5. You can order them on the Beer Keller website right now. I think you get a drink with that as well, which is pretty cool. And you'll get the access to the biggest screen to watch NFL in Manchester, I believe. Oh, that's the advert. The Utter Punts guys will be hosting. I'll be helping them out. Should be good fun. Come and say hello, and we might even have some good teams and great teams cover merch by then.
What a team!
What a team! Absolutely. So until next time, we'll be back with the divisional round review next week on Tuesday, Wednesday. Have a great weekend, guys. Best of luck to you, guys. Best of luck to your 49ers, Joe, and I'll catch you next week.
Cheers.